up, guys? I'm back with another video. Want to start off by showing you a game that I get a lot of requests for, a lot of questions about, is Star Wars Arcade by Atari. And a lot of people were wondering if the game was playable with the flight joystick, and it is. It's actually, nothing's going to replace the yoke, of course, and Arcade 1-Up has a killer cabinet out there. But I think it's still running about 500 bucks. It comes with the riser. I'm a big fan of Arcade 1-Up. I know a lot of people have had mixed emotions about it because some aren't faithful reproductions of the game exactly, and some are. But overall, I think they're a solid company. I love the products, and that's actually what started this whole thing in the first place, and I still have a couple left. I did sell quite a few that I used to have. Anyways, let me show you what Star Wars Arcade's all about. And you will find it a lot of places, but I tend to fire it up right here in the Atari Classics. There it is. And again, you'll spend a little time in here configuring the controls in the main. And what I did is I did the usual, the X analog on the joystick on the X-axis and the Y analog on the up and down, the Y-axis. And then I also mapped the first button to the trigger, the second button to the left flight joystick, the third one to the right joystick, and the last one right here on the first player, first button. To be honest with you, when you're playing in a game, the trigger activates all of the lasers anyway, so I really don't think it matters. But if you really want to have the individual ones, go ahead and map it out like that. And in analog, I did the sensitivity relatively low. It does tend to have a tendency to run real hot in a lot of the games, so for this one I did it down to 30-25. Again, if you have a flight stick and when you have your machine or you get your machine, what have you, play with it. Just play with the sensitivity, get it where you like it. And also, if you want to flip the X and the Y axis and how it responds to it, you can reverse the X and the Y and it'll do the opposite way. But I will give you a little example how it works.
Good try, standing by.
As you can see, dead center, it will go all the way up, down, to the left, all the way. It can square all the way around the shooting area. And it always comes back to that center. Of course, nothing's going to replace the yoke like the original arcade version, of course. And that's the most fun way to play it. But you can get used to it real quick. And, you know, it's the closest you're going to get on an EHA machine, short of getting your yoke installed, which I don't think David can do. Turn the volume up there for a little bit. Man, I used to spend a lot of quarters on this game. Every time I went to the movie theater with my buddies, there was always that sweet Star Wars arcade machine that we would drop a couple bucks in before the movie started.
Yahoo! You're all clear, kid!
So again, as you can see, works lovely, nice and smooth, squares all the way around, and always goes back to the center. That sensitivity will adjust how fast it goes. This game's still fun, I don't care. Oh.
On your head for top bad, or do what you can do with it. Good spot. Who's going in?
Again, check out the arcade 1-up version of this game. It's pretty solid. There's some great reviews on it. And it does have the yoke. I bought my machine right before it came out, and I actually pre-ordered it, but I decided not to get it because I had this. Oh.
Let's go. R2 trying to increase the power.
Very strong, isn't it?
Gotcha. So another advantage of having the flight stick, you know, for awesome games like this. Star Wars Arcade. Woo! Okay guys, so since we're in the Atari section, I did want to show you another game that utilizes the spinners, and another really cool example of it is a game called Blasteroids, which is, I burned a lot of quarters in this one too. It was a pretty fun game back in the day, and love the original Asteroids and Asteroids Deluxe. So when they came out, this one is just the graphics were upped and everything like that. Anyways, it's a lot more fun with the spinners, and that's actually how the original arcade cabinet had, was a spinner. So let me show you how it works. It's in the same Atari plastic section right here. So, Blasteroids. So what I did in the settings is that there's a dial analog and a dial 2 analog. Dial analog is the first player, number 1. Dial 2 analog is the second player. So I mapped dial analog to the first spinner on the left, and then I did the P1, 2, 3 are automatically mapped to the keyboard buttons right here, these white ones. If you can see it, I don't know if I can show you the camera. And then what I did for the second player is I put the right spinner. I mapped it to that, and then mapped it to the second player buttons. So you and a buddy come over and you want to play together. You could play on the first one. There you go. The spinner is just the way this game is meant to be played, but you can play with the joystick as well. But again, I always go for the authentic if I can. That's why I dished all this money for all these extra parts on there, so I can play the OG. And again, I dialed the sensitivity. I took it down just a notch to about 45. And it just takes a little bit of the edge off so it's not so quick. Again, just do it the way you like. There's no wrong or right. So, you got a friend who wants to join with some coins. And here's the second spinner. So you can have 2 people playing on the same machine, both utilizing the spinners. This is just one of those fun games that you can keep throwing quarters in, and it'll actually continue the same game. scan lines on it. You can't turn those off though. Yeah, it's just a fun game. You can sit here and get lost for a couple hours playing it. Spinners are very, very loose. They move very fast. Keep that in mind when you're setting your sensitivity. Oh, there you go. Blasteroids, highly recommend. So this next game is kind of like a Twitch game, just like a real fun, fast-paced, casual game. As much as I like to play RPGs and you know, those 100-hour games every once in a while, I also like to be able to fire up the machine, and the EHA is great for that. Just firing up a real fast, casual game. You can just play for like 25-30 minutes or so and then shut it off. But the game is Tron Run. It came out in 2016. And originally came out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. But it's on the EHA machine. Again, you'll miss it if you're not looking for it. And let's go through a little playthrough. See, I remember where I put it. Right here. Again, you gotta search for it a little bit. It's right in between Shank and Axiom Verge. Tron Run R. What's also fun about this game is you really don't have to reconfigure anything, because you can just play it with the pedestal or the Mega K, what have you. You don't need to bust out the keyboard for it. And the best way to play it is just with the joystick and the buttons. It's the best way to do it. I went into the options beforehand and I changed everything to full screen with 1920 by 1080 resolution, which is what my TV is. I don't have a 4K TV in here, just a 1080p.
Escape is futile.
Got a little bit of that tempo run feel to it. You kind of just run along a path, but it's a little more involved with jumps and you can actually make combos. Tracks get a lot more fun to it. Try it again. Yeah, no keyboard, just using the regular first player joystick and the buttons.
Combatants have been prepared for discord. 2,000 years.
I got a special place in my heart for Tron, of course, big fan. So anything Tron is fun for me to play. Just as a side note, Tron 2.0 is actually on this machine. It's a PC game, and it's definitely worth checking out, definitely worth playing. I'll make a video about it later. Fun game. Casual.
Data not retrieved.
Okay guys, this last two videos I wanted to show you an example of Pinball Fx2. Really popular cross-platform pinball game. It's on everything from PlayStation to Android to iPhone, you name it, iPad. And it plays really awesome on the EHA machine because you can, again, I can use my flippers and my plunger, and I'll show you how it plays. Pinball Fx2 in here too. I'll show you that another time. But for now, I want to show you one of my favorite tables is just the good old Sorcerer's Lair. Again, I have it in the mouse position, so now I can use the trackball here to operate it, just like you would on a PC. Still looks great. And you hit the plunger on my pedestal. Acts just like the real thing. Got the left paddle, right nudge, left nudge. And if you've seen on my one of my other videos in the Future Pinball, you can change the views. You can do the same thing in Pinball Fx2. the player 7 button, player 1 7 button. You can cycle through all the views you want. Better than others. So it gets you really up close and personal there.
Where could Whisper be? Take my hand.
Leaving so soon.
I know I've mentioned it before, but again, if you're a pinball person and you're looking at one of these machines, I highly recommend putting in the flipper and the nudge and the plunger,
Whisper isn't here yet.
at least the plunger button. David does offer a real life plunger, but he doesn't do the software for it, so you're kind of on your own.
Leaving so soon. Splendid.
Let's try it again, okay?
To the Sorcerers Lair.
Remember this being one of your OG tables for Pinball FX.
Ball locked.
Okay guys, so I just wanted to show you this last video was pretty much just a comparison of the Pinball Fx2 on my EHA machine and the Pinball Fx2 on the vpin with the Sorcerers Lair example. This is my vpin, by the way, and I got it a little before I got my EHA machine. I love it, it's pretty awesome. That one's a Windows 7 operating system, just a simple computer inside. The video card is not that big of a deal. I think it's a 800 something, but it's plenty to power the machines, the pinball machines on here, and it's got a 160 gigabyte solid state drive on it, so it's pretty quick. And I modded it out a little bit. As you can see, it comes with some hap joysticks and some other the other buttons on the side, so you can actually play full games on here. It has over 2,000 games on it, and that includes main games, arcade games on there as well, including like Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, bunch of fighting games, and I'll do another video of that too. The one advantage that the vpin machine has over the EHA machine as far as fighting games is that I do have hap controls on this, so it does make it a little bit more fun to play. It's a little more responsive. You know, the purists will swear by those HAP, and there's a bunch of other different joysticks out there, some Japanese, Chinese made, what have you. Google's your best friend, but they are quite different than the EHA ones, especially if you're into fighting. Also on this one, I did mod it out. It has a left flipper, a right flipper, but I did it so that you can left nudge and right nudge in the actual pinball games as well too. Before it was only working with the Pinball Fx game, so I kind of did a little mod to it. Of course, you'll see vpins out there that blow this one away. There's 4K resolution ones. There's different OSs that they use, and there's even ones in there that you can manually hit. You can hit the side of the pinball machine and it interacts with the game. This is not one of those. It's a little bit more on the lower end side, but it's still fun. And it's just better for my man cave because it's only a 32-inch screen. Some of those other ones get into the 40 and they're huge. This one's 32-inch screen, 24-inch higher screen, and it still weighed almost 180 pounds. It was heavy to get up in here, and it still takes up quite a bit of space, but I don't think they come smaller than this. If they do, they may not have the real stands. Actually, let's take that back. I did see a website that did have smaller ones. So, you know, there's a lot of people making it, and pinball's making a resurgence. Anyways, let me show you Sorcerers Lair real quick. What's cool about the vpin is that it actually has a real DMD in it, so it will show you just like the real deal. It'll have the gameplay field down here, but it'll show you a regular DMD, like a regular pinball machine up here, and the machine automatically finds and loads the game, and then it always has some really cool artwork up here. Volume a little bit, and you can see my plunger actually works on it. So this vpin definitely has more of a real deal feel to it. You know, you can lean against the machine, you can look right down on that play field, you treat it just like a normal one. It's just a way different experience than the EHA machine. Just different, more authentic. Of course, for a virtual pin. I did hook up a subwoofer to the bottom too, so you can crank this thing. And it has some really fun tables like AC/DC and Metallica, and they really sound good on it. I haven't tried to figure out, it's already mapped to certain controls, so I haven't figured out, you know, if you want to be able to change the views. They set it up this way so it just recreates the pinball table, because I think if you start changing the views in it, it's not going to look as authentic, so they kind of just left it how it is. Again, you have a little more flexibility in the EHA machine.
Don't be afraid.
All locked.
What's cool about this machine too is if you play a game like, say, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, the play field will change to the top one, and then you actually play the game up here as opposed to here. But you also, a lot of shmups will play on this longer screen, so they're a lot cooler to play. And I'll post a video or two of how that looks, and it's pretty fun to play it like this, because the vertical screen is quite different.
Presence is an insufferable affront. Leave! All locked. Multi-ball!
You can see there's really no slowdown, it's very smooth.
Skill shot.
So just to give you a better perspective from the top-down look, so you can see visually what it looks like when you're playing from
Here yet.
my perspective. You know, these machines are just too cool, man. Definitely give you that pinball vibe. And I'm pretty pleased with the size of this one. I think if it was any bigger, I would definitely have to put it in my garage,
There you are, Whisper.
basement, because they're just huge. So I feel like this one is a perfect size for me. Would I love to have a 4K in the future? Of course. And I'm sure at some point I'll upgrade and try and find one with a 32 inch or something that small. This one does have quite a big bezel on it, as you can notice. At first it kind of bothered me a little bit, now I'm kind of used to it. But if you've seen some of the other ones on eBay, and there's an awesome Australian company who's making 4K ones. You know, the screen goes all the way to the outside edges, and again, they have the tilt feature, and they're just taking it and going to next level on them. Along with the Pinball Fx2, this one does, like I said, have Pinball Fx3 on it, and quite a few games. Every Pinball Fx2 game, quite a few FX3 games, and it also has visual pinball, future pinball, and old school games, Stern games, quite a few. Some of them are bump, some aren't that good. You know, there's some duds in there. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. And for those who are going to ask me, I got it from a company called Doc Pinball. I believe he's out from Chicago. Great guy. I actually found this listing on eBay. I hit him up, and he gave me all the deets on it. Sent me some pictures. Was really, really helpful. Gave me all the information, and pretty reasonably priced for what I got. And
I don't see Whisper anywhere.
so there it is, guys. Just thought I'd show you side by side so you can see the same game on two different machines, two different beasts. As usual, give me a like, And sub me if you can. The more subs I get, the more videos I'll be inspired to make. Any requests or comments, just leave it in there for you. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.